What's up, y'all? This episode of Q Points discusses sexually explicit song lyrics in detail. It is intended for mature audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
Who would think that Bruce Springsteen would allow Two Live Crew to sample his Born in the USA record to create
Banned in the USA.
USA. Greetings and welcome to another episode of Q Points Podcast. I am DJ Sir Daniel.
And my name is Jay Ray. And Sir Daniel, I'm checking out your shirt. We gonna talk about a Luther on this shirt or this show. Not that Luther, but a really important Luther who was part of a really important crew that we just gotta talk about during our summer of sex.
We are discussing the forefathers of the new, at that time, a new sexual revolution in hip hop music. We're talking about July 25th, 1986. That was 40 years ago that the Two Live Crew released their debut studio album. The Two Live Crew is what we are. And J-Ray, that album is important in the sense that it was like the Florida cousin to Soul Sonic Force, in the sense that it fused Miami bass, and we're going to talk about bass culture and car culture in a little bit. It fused electro funk and of course it infused like traditional rap and hip hop. But some standout cuts, J-Ray, on that album. Like there's some serious classics on there, like "Get It Girl," get it, girl. Like if you, I'm excited. And you'll find out why. And then I think the biggest classic for them was "Throw That D," because "Throw That D" is a "Throw That D" because it was sampled by will.i.am. Well, not sampled. He used the lyrics. It was interpolated on Fergie's Fergalicious album because it starts off, "Now listen up, y'all, because this is it. Forget that old dance and throw that." Yes. So we're going to be bleeping ourselves a lot on this episode too because it's the summer of sex, J-Ray. And listen, the lyrics got a little bit more explicit.
Yeah.
The beats got a little more heavier. Yeah. They became bouncier. There was some resistance in New York and to hip hop traditionalists, but this group grew and literally changed the face of rap music and actually exposed the rest of the world to a whole new culture because Miami is a microcosm of a macrocosm. And I also want to shout out DJ Mr. Mix, and we'll get to the rest of the crew members because he's one of the, remember J-Ray, back in the day, DJs would get a feature on the album.
Yes.
Like they would have an opportunity, a whole track just to do their thing. And I will say that DJ Mr. Mix is probably one of the most underrated DJs in hip hop history when it comes to his turntablism. That man was sick with it, is sick with it when it comes to the cutting and scratching featured on a rap record. But let's get into who makes up the Two Live Crew, J-Ray. Who are the actual members of Two Live Crew?
Yeah, so Two Live Crew started with Fresh Kid Ice and Mr. Mix. Those two guys have been working together, and there's a little bit of history of how that came to be. But later on, Brother Marquis came into the fold, as well as one Luther Campbell, who we knew as Luke Skywalker at the time. And so they became kind of a four-man lineup. So for their first album, you'll see all four members on the cover. And there's a lot of things that are unique about the release of that record too. So one, for me personally, Sir Daniel, I was living up here in Chester, PA. there was no Two Live Crew playing up here at the time. So contextualizing for folks that at that time, music was still very regional, right? So we've talked about radio a lot on this show. So radio stations played what people were listening to in that area, right? And that music from Miami hadn't made it up here, right? So if you weren't living down there, you didn't hear it. So I didn't hear the Two Live Crew until a couple of years later, and we'll talk about kind of why that happened. But what's unique about that record is they could not get signed. So uniquely, the reason why Two Live Crew is in our Summer of Sex, and Sir Daniel, you set this up, is, you know, they really are purveyors of this kind of new sexual revolution, in particular from a men's perspective, which has a unique side to that. But because of what they were doing and how they were doing it and what they were saying, they couldn't get signed to like a label. Yeah, they couldn't get signed at all. So what Luke did is he started his own label, right? And called it Luke Skywalker Records. And they began to release under their own imprint. So they were releasing independently and selling those records locally and regionally on their own. So that made this group really unique. But yeah, I didn't end up hearing them until they went national a couple of years later with Move Something. And that was 88. That was actually I've talked about this on the show. Where I fell in love with hip hop was in 1988, and like all of the stuff that came out, and Two Live Crew was one of those groups. And I was listening to them, hearing Soul Sonic Force, but also hearing this 808 under all of that sounded like different than what was happening in the North. So it was very distinguishable.
Absolutely. Oh man, there's so much to unpack here. So going back to the original lineup of Two Live Crew, Christopher Wong Wan, aka Fresh Kid Ice, clearly the only Asian member of the Two Live Crew, which of course he stood out like a sore thumb. But for the record, J. Ray, I think it's possibly one of the first Asian rappers ever in a major rap group, signed to a label, the whole nine. So I, like you, I had never, so this is 86. Never heard of Two Live Crew until 88, like you. And that was only because of Ralph McDaniels and Video Music Box is when I also saw the Move Something video, but that's on their second album. So on this first album, you have, like I said, we have Throw That D, which is an instant classic in Florida and regionally in those places. And there is so much to be said about that. The beats, the BPMs, that's another thing. It was a faster BPM, higher. They're rapping a lot faster. They are more explicit. The way I like to explain Two Live Crew, if I want to explain Two Live Crew to a youngin, to a baby right now, I would, they probably wouldn't even get this reference. But for those of us Gen Xers, Two Live Crew is the amalgamation of every single boy that watched a Porky's movie and that watched Porky's movies, Revenge of the Nerds. Two Live Crew, their album was like an amalgamation of that. It was like if you mix all of that together with teen angst, toxic masculinity back in the 80s, because this is the 80s. So we're talking about toxic masculinity and a lot of sexual repression that is now being fought because you've got the adult movies industry on the rise, and you've got the magazines and everything. So all of these things, Two Live Crew is like your teenage brother's hormones on steroids. And because even on the record, they use samples from Rudy Ray Moore albums, like a lot of Dolomite records with very sexually explicit rhymes, because Dolomite was a rapper for all intents and purposes. And they would get on there, they would use those samples to just heighten the sexuality of it all and to heighten the pimpness of it all, because that's what they were doing. There were young men exercising their horny demons on this record, and the rest of the world would slowly pick up on it, and that would become Two Live Crew becomes an instant classic, specifically among young men.
So a couple of things. There is a tendency for folks to act like groups like Two Live Crew just kind of sprouted out of nowhere, right? And what you just indicated and illustrated, Sir Daniel, is that in the fabulousness of Black culture, there have always been precursors to things, right? Sexually explicit music, comedy, film is nothing new for Black folks. We have always been on the vanguard. Literally, Little Richard wrote the words "Tutti Frutti Good Booty," and they told him, no, you can't say that, sir. You have to change that, right? So that's in the 1950s. There was stuff happening before then, right? As early as recorded music. Two Live Crew comes from that entire tradition, right? So I want to acknowledge that. Like, Two Live Crew was not out of nowhere. This group sat in a tradition. And then two, and I love that you mentioned this, Sir Daniel, Two Live Crew built their following in teen clubs in Miami. And we've talked about on this show, kids, you may not know this today. They might have teen clubs today. I haven't been a teenager in a very long time, so I don't know. But but we as young folks, we had nights where we could go to clubs, and they were teen clubs. And in teen clubs in Miami, they became a formidable presence now. But I think it's important that we acknowledge that this group was always in a push-pull with law enforcement at the time.
Oh, yes.
Because we have a lot of things going on in hip hop at the time. So what people have to remember is hip hop wasn't always the culture. Hip hop was heavily policed in those early years. We talked about in our very first episode how literally venues banned hip hop. Like, you couldn't rap in venues at the time because of fears of violence and all of these other things. Some of them rooted in reality, but some of them rooted in just fear of Black teens and Black young people. But because of that, Two Live Crew were always in kind of this push-pull relationship because of the lyrics, because of how hype. I only know this because of research. I wasn't there. But apparently they was driving these kids completely crazy with their performances. And yeah, and you know, the authorities were alerted to what they were creating amongst their audiences.
I think it has to be. So I want to set the stage because at a very important age, I left New York City to relocate to St. Petersburg, Florida. Mm-hmm. And I've mentioned that before on this show, how much of a culture shock it was to me, because it felt, and this is no shade to Florida, but it felt like I had gone back a couple years in time when we got down there, because you know, brothers and sisters were still, the Jerry curl was still a thing. You know, the gold teeth, everything that we know about Miami now, about Florida, there is still true to this day. They don't mind a gold grill. Now it's wigs, but back then it was Jerry curls. Right. The hair has completely changed. That's changed a bit. But you know, this is a coastal city. So you've got all the influences of the Caribbean, you've got Spanish culture, Hispanic culture. Then you've also got, it's the 80s. So baby, you on the coast, so you know the drugs are rolling in.
The drugs are rolling in. Mm-hmm.
So you got a huge drug dealer slash drug user population that has grown. And so what do you have when you get young people that have money and like to have a good time and that are flashy? They start spending money on things that are affordable, but they take them and they zhuzh them up. They crank it up another level and make it theirs by slapping rims on the cars.
Yep.
I'm talking about you could take up you could take up a beat up old Chevy, Chevy Impala, and a Buick, any kind of box car back then, because this is the 80s. And they would gut out the back, put these huge 808 speakers in the back, put some rims on the car. Sometimes they would put bigger wheels on the cars. And what you have now is a rolling earache.
A rolling earache. I love that.
Let me tell you something. It would be nothing for us to be sitting in our classes and one of the boys, somebody would be driving by and you would hear that boom, 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 just rattling. And that was part of the culture. The kids loved it. The teachers would just roll their eyes and be like, oh, that's just some so-and-so pulling up in the parking lot. J-Ray, I rode in a car like that. And it was and here's the funny thing, it was with a bunch of white kids. I will never ever forget that. And you know, kids, teenagers. So you humping down the street with all of this noise in the back, playing a Two Live Crew or La Trim, any of these huge records from back in the 80s that had a significant 808 bass kick, just to bring attention to yourself, just to show that you're cool and to have a good time. I'm not gonna lie, I laughed the whole way back home because it was just that invigorating, and literally the beat is bumping through your chest. And I have to give a shout out to the Jam Pony Express movement of Florida, because when I moved there, I became aware of this mixtape collective. And baby, you talking about a chokehold. Those tapes were circulating like how we talk about the mixtape culture in New York. They had the mixtape culture on lock. Those tapes were circulating. They were so popular. The Jam Pony Express DJs, if they were at a party, the parties would be packed out. I mean, all of that added to this culture that was bubbling in Florida that carved out their own niche of hip hop music. And little did they know, the rest of the world was still kind of like, we don't like that. We don't care about that. But little did they know, a few years later,
it's going to take over.
They would actually take over and be leading the country in what hip hop would sound like and what it means to party, J-Ray. What it means to party and have a good time. To Luther Campbell's credit, Luther changed all of that. Luther brought a strip club culture. The dancers that you mentioned, they started doing, the reason why the shows became under so much surveillance is because of the dancers would get a little explicit on stage.
Exactly. Yep.
Which would make the kids want to come out and see the shows even more, which drew the attention of the local police, the Broward County Police. And they were the first, I guess, Southern hip hop police faction, because they would surveil Two Live Crew for years after that, until they started creating record store stings. And we'll talk about that some more.
Absolutely. And I feel like this is a good place to kind of transition into this interesting era. I often, as I was getting ready for this show, Biggie was ringing through my head when he rapped "Mo Money, Mo Problems." And I think this is really important culturally for folks to remember. There are often times when we are clamoring for kind of more attention, more money, more eyes on the thing that we're doing, right? And that's great. But here's what happens, right? It also makes you an easier target. And absolutely. I absolutely see Two Live Crew as being like poster children for that taken to like the 100th power. So as we've talked about, Sir Daniel, both you and I came to know Two Live Crew through Move Something, right? So this video,
I love that record, by the
it's a
way.
great record. So
Still
if
to
y'all
this
don't know
day, I
that
love it.
record, it's a great record. If y'all don't know it, definitely go check it out. But I was super duper 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 young, so I didn't know about the explicit stuff until like later. You know what I'm saying? Until like, some other boy in the neighborhood would like play the record because they had it because I couldn't get it, right? But anyway, Two Live Crew got huge. So they get ready for their third album. Move Something had become a hit, so they have some momentum now. So what rap groups do when you have momentum is you got to do a thing. They release, and this is crazy that this played on the radio because they would not do it today, but they released Me So Horny as a single. It's the first single from their third album, As Nasty as They Want to Be. Nationally, this record goes gangbusters.
Huge.
We are being now introduced to a new sound, or what's new for a lot of people outside of Miami, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because now this is not just a regional record, this is now a national hit record that is going international. And because of that, the album gets released. And those same police, right? So, there's already eyes on them locally. Now, this becomes a statewide problem where the authorities decide in Florida that we are going to deem this record obscene. And we want it pulled off the shelves. And this begins to set off a firestorm of conversations about the First Amendment and what it means. And so at the foundation of how hip hop was able to move forward as hip hop moved forward is Two Live Crew, and largely Luke, who becomes, because he was not only the business of the group, he becomes the face of the group.
Face of it, yep.
And he was really championing them as, no, this is art, this is First Amendment, you can't do this, right? And they even had I forgot about this. They even had Dr. Henry Louis Gates testify on their behalf for this federal trial that the lyrics that they were using were in fact part of Black cultural tradition, right? So Skip Gates was part of this whole conversation, right? But they truly did become the poster childs for free speech in the United States and what that would look like going forward.
And you just said something. I want to stay here really quick for just a quick second. So Luther Campbell, Luke Skywalker, Uncle Luke, whatever you want to call him, not an MC and not an MC's MC by any means whatsoever. But when I tell you Luther Campbell is a purveyor and a keeper of the lost art of call and response.
Yes.
His superpower is the call and response record. If we go back to their debut, Two Live Crew is What We Are. One of the records on that album is just the poetic and also aptly named "We Want Some Pussy."
Poetic.
It's so poetic and just so you think plainly stated. And when you listen to the record, it is just a call and response record where Luther just adeptly has this way of doing call and response records.
Yeah.
Like and if you think about it, in the trajectory, even after the Two Live Crew dissolved and he became his own brand and was putting out records, if you think about Luke's biggest records, it's all a bunch of call and response.
It's true.
And to Henry Louis Gates' point, call and
Yeah.
response is a full Black African diasporatic tradition. Call and response is just a part of our culture. It happens at rap shows. It happens in church.
Yeah.
You know, God is good
All the time.
and all the time.
God is good.
That's call and response, y'all. Right there. We have been doing it for centuries. So I said all that to say that regardless of what we think of, I know we don't think of Uncle Luke as a rapidy rapper. He's not on anybody's top lyricist list or anything like that. But his claim to fame, aside from the business acumen and just being able to ride out this part of history and becoming the face of freedom of speech for musicians, he's a master of call and response. Yeah. Argue with your mammy. That's what Uncle Luke, to me, is best known for when it comes to the music side. And it's so funny you were back to the hip hop police. They would surveil these record stores.
They literally arrested record store owners.
And J. Ray, white supremacy is all over this because, again, they are policing Black bodies. Because if you think about it, J. Ray, one of the first things that they did when they got a hold of the As Nasty as They Want to Be record album is that they covered up the bodies of those Black women that are on the front of that album. I mean, the album is cheeks. You'll be real about it. It's Black women with very voluptuous bodies and cheeks. Almost said the A word.
With the guys just kind of down in between their legs. Yeah. Yes.
And so they covered that up. Again, always controlling Black bodies and then slapping a Black bar across their posteriors and then slapping the warning label on the album. And now you're controlling our bodies from us going into a record store and purchasing something that we want with our own money. So now you're controlling our bodies and you're controlling them by arresting them at these shows. And these brothers are getting arrested
at shows
for performing at shows. So you have NWA on the West Coast getting arrested for performing at the police. And now you have in Florida and other parts of the country, Two Live Crew doing the same, putting their bodies on the line for free speech.
Okay, so this is bringing up a question. I'm curious where you are with this. I want to give a couple of quotes from things that came up. One to the arrest. Luke is quoted as saying, "Oh, we knew we were going to get arrested. We were under attack because it was hip hop. And y'all, at the time, this was very real." And their defense attorney, so basically what happened, by the way, because I don't know that everybody will know this. So that federal judge in Florida decided to deem As Nasty as I Want to Be obscene, which meant that people couldn't sell it, right? Instead of Two Live Crew folding, they decided to fight it. And that's where they decided to mount a defense and decided to fight this charge that this is not obscene. This is art. This is First Amendment, right? They ended up winning that, and they ended up being acquitted of those charges because this group had this album had been deemed obscene. This group was under attack, and they ended up getting acquitted after they decided to mount this defense after this federal judge had deemed this album obscene. But their defense attorney at the time is quoted as saying, "It's not just language. It's music. This is a form of art, and so it's protected." Their defense attorney's name was Bruce Rogow. I have a question, Sir Daniel. When you think about where we are in this moment and where are we from your perspective in terms of this topic? Do you feel like uh uh we are in a better place today, or are there things that are happening in the music that need more regulation? I'm curious to know.
Hmm. So I think yes to all of it. Yes, and see, when it comes to making progress, sometimes people are always going to take things to the extreme.
Yeah.
And so you have them, the Two Live Crew, who starts rallying support from unlikely people.
Unlikely people.
Like,
Right.
who would think that Bruce Springsteen would allow Two Live Crew to sample his Born in the USA record to create
Banned in the
Banned in the
USA.
USA? You know, and other musicians started, like rock musicians started rallying behind them, like, no, this could affect us in the long run as well, because Tipper Gore was on one. Tipper Gore was and all the people that
was
were
it C. Dolores
on
Tucker and all them
behalf
girls.
of mothers of America, because we don't want this filth in influencing our children. And they were kind of right, but yeah. So I think when you get progress, sometimes things are going to be taken to extreme, and I think in life what happens is that we are always striving for some type of balance. And what we've noticed in this world, that we always tend to get out of balance. We always tend to tip one way or another, and something has to happen in order to kind of force the ball back in the middle, so that we get some type of equilibrium, we get some type of balance within the world. And right now we are definitely leaning towards things that are totally extreme. I don't know that because we are the new parents, the new lawmakers, we're the new grandparents, we are the adults of society. I don't think you don't hear as much noise about it, because we are the hip hop generation, and now we are the adults, as the kids like to say. We are the adults running things. So things don't typically rattle us like it rattled our baby boomer parents. However, we are still aware that some of that stuff y'all are doing too much. So I think we're in a point now where we're trying to reel it back, like, okay, all right, you know, I'm with y'all shaking ass and throwing ass and having fun, but all that other stuff, let's pull it back. You know, all that sex trafficking and the drugging of unwilling participants, all of that stuff. Let's
too far.
Bring it back. It's gone way too far.
Yeah. I am really happy that Two Live Crew fought for what they fought for, because I really do think that hip hop benefited from them having this fight, and overall the music industry really does owe Two Live Crew a debt of gratitude for deciding to fight this, because it did make room for expression to happen without all of that, without law enforcement scrutiny in a lot of ways, right? So I think that's a plus. To that point though, I do wonder. I think it's the balance thing that you mentioned. Honestly, I think you nailed it with. I think things do feel a lot out of balance now. And it's like, and not only out of balance, I feel like there are lessons we grew up with that we were listening to in Two Live Crew stuff, but we knew that you couldn't just like go into the world and do that, because that's not the way you behaved in the world. That's not how this works. You know what I'm saying? And I do think like that lesson is the thing that is most, those lessons are the things that is most missing. We talk a lot on this show, or have talked a lot about how we learned about consent by being in like teen club environments. You know what I'm saying? Like there were lessons in learning how to behave within society that you learned by being amongst your peers, and also, but also people telling you stuff. So I agree. I feel like it is a both and. I'm happy that this thing happened, but I also think that things are out of whack. So, perfect example. Right now, we are in this amazing moment in time where anyone can pretty much go on the internet and listen to anything.
Right.
Mostly without guardrails, right? Unless you have on your phone that you are a underage, right? And you have to do, and child, these kids are smart enough to know how to override all of that stuff, right? They know how to do VPNs and all of that. You know what I mean?
Like two-phase authentication. What is
Got you.
that?
Got you.
What is that?
So, right. So we're in this phase where you could just kind of go and listen to anything. And I will tell you, when hip hop got more explicit, I had a very specific example of when I got reeled back in by the record store owner. There was a record store here in Chester, and I wish I remembered its name. But this is when NWA's second album came out, Niggas for Life, which was the apex of this. This was like this on steroids, but more from the violence side of things. So you had a sex and a violence. I wanted a copy because everybody wanted a copy. It was the hottest thing going at the time in 1991, right? And my dad was going to buy me a record. Now, he don't know this record. This is the record I wanted, though, right? And it's not obvious what the songs are because even the title is spelled backwards on the record. Mm-hmm. So you're like, I don't know what this is.
Zaga,
right. So we go to buy it. And the record store owner was like, this is for him? And I knew what was about to happen. So this is after the point where these record store owners had gotten arrested for like selling 2 Live Crew albums. But he was also looking at me as like what, a 12-year-old? And it's like, this is for him. And he's like, this record is really explicit. And said that, and my dad looked at me. He was like, what the hell you got me buying? And we
I love that.
Marched out of the store. He was so angry.
Wow.
Because I was trying to play him. In all fairness to him, I was trying to play him.
And and so this is the part of our memories that are fun, and the whole thing about 2 Live Crew represented fun and good times for the most part. But of course, with anything else, there's a time and place for everything, and the fun ends. The fun comes to an end, and a lot of times, like we see with countless, not just hip hop acts, but musicians across the board that are groups. There's always, if not, I don't think there's any time where disputes do not come up within groups that ultimately lead to the demise and the end of the group. 2 Live Crew, of course, came to an end in the mid-90s.
In the mid-90s,
mostly because of business.
Absolutely, always.
Luke, being a shrewd businessman that he is, was handling all the business. Owned the name. And of course, I'm sure when it came to paying out royalties and whatnot, I didn't see the split sheets. I can't say, but I'm certain that the disputes were, hey, we're not getting our fair share, especially someone like Brother Marquis, who wrote the Me So Horny album record, which was a multi-platinum single and a multi-platinum album. I'm sure was like, hey, this can't be what I'm supposed to be receiving. And so here we go. This begins the dissolve of Tular Crew as we know it. And what we've seen over the years is we will see it's like climax. We will see different versions of Tular Crew. We'll see Uncle Luke presents
Mm-hmm.
Tular Crew, and it'll be him and two new rappers. And then we'll see the original Tular Crew with Fresh Kid Ice and Brother Marquis and DJ Mr. Mix
Yeah.
doing their thing. And sadly, you know, those are the things that happen. And you know, Luke, like you said, goes on to become the face
Oh
of
yeah.
this movement, and not for nothing, literally becomes the star out of this whole situation. Unfortunately, back in 2017, we lost
Fresh Kid
Christopher
Ice.
Wong, Fresh Kid Ice. We lost him. He passed away. And only 2 years ago, as a matter of fact, the anniversary just passed of the death of Brother Marquis on
Mm-hmm.
June 5th, 2024. So those brothers are no longer here. But the legacy still lives on, J Ray. The
Yeah.
legacy of Tular Crew is still a thing. And you know, we still get listen, I'm one of my favorite things is to drop Hoochie Mama in a set, because when that guitar comes in, that dun 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 dun, dun, you should see like the frenzy on people's faces when that song comes on, and women especially just lose it. Dun 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 dun, dun. Big booty hoes, hump with it, and then everybody just goes into a tirade and just has a good time. Just, I mean, I have nothing but fond memories of Two Live Crew music and the other artists that they spawned, because they literally spawned a whole genre of hip hop, a whole new branch of hip hop that literally took over the world. We would not have Trick Daddy
Yep.
or the Baddest Bitch. We would not have Trina if it weren't for a Two Live Crew.
Yeah, it is important. Like they spawn all of those groups that came, all of those labels and groups, and the
Mm.
way, and I mean, I don't think we said this in the intro, but I think it's really important. Luke Skywalker Records, they're basically like the southern version of Def Jam at that time. So
Absolutely.
that's how important this record, that this group is and what they created. Sir Daniel, I don't know if you've heard about this, but they are currently, Two Live Crew is back in the news because one of the things that they're trying to reclaim. So when Luke Records in 1995, when they filed for bankruptcy after all of this stuff, so they, of course, they have all of these lawsuits.
Mm-hmm.
And this really helps dissolve the group in a lot of ways too. So there's these financial disputes. There's this huge First Amendment fight that they have. The record label loses all of this money. And so at that time, they lose control of those master recordings. So from all of those early records, they lose that control of all of those all of those masters in the bankruptcy fight. And so now they are back in that fight. So they just a couple of weeks ago, they had well, in 2024 they had won a jury verdict in 2024 that would give them the masters back. The owner of those masters decided, like, no, we are going to appeal this decision. And just a couple of weeks ago, or recently, the appeals court overturned the 2024 decision. So there's an ongoing legal battle right now for Two Live Crew. So that's Luke and Mr. Mix, and of course the heirs of the other members who are passed
Kid
on,
Ice.
Fresh Kid
Yeah.
Ice and Brother Marquis,
Brother Mark.
to get control of that music back. So it's an unfortunate situation where even now this group that was so foundational got caught up in the mix of the music business. And what happens when you get caught up in the mix of the music business, and hopefully they are able to secure the rights to their masters again that unfortunately got lost in kind of these pieces of bankruptcies and doing all of this stuff. But I believe these men deserve it. There's too much hip hop history.
So I'm glad you said that. Do you think that Two Live Crew deserves to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
Oh hell yeah. I don't know that there is a in the groups in the South. There are plenty of landmark groups in the South. Mm-hmm. But I think that Two Live Crew changed too much about the way hip hop behaved overall to not be considered for induction and inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I feel like there are things that are happening right now, in terms of, you talk about Uncle Luke and his call and response and the stuff that happens in New Orleans now and all of this stuff. I really do feel like Two Live Crew was, really on the vanguard of a move in that in hip hop.
Absolutely. Listen, you get no disputes from me here. As a matter of fact, one of the and I know a lot of people like to dispute who did what first. Mm-hmm. I think my belief is I think that there was a simultaneous spark.
Yeah.
In
Absolutely.
Georgia, in Florida, in Alabama, in Louisiana, in Texas. Hip hop, there was a simultaneous spark of hip hop in all of these different regions and states of hip hop, right? Mm-hmm. Now, who came to the forefront and who got more national popularity is up for discussion. Who signed this deal? Who did all of that? All of that is up for discussion. I do think things happen simultaneously. And because Black people being how inventive we are, in whatever region we're in, we're going to have a regional twist on everything.
Yes.
And so like you said, I believe that Two Live Crew, Uncle Luke, all of them, to your point, did that for Miami, did that for Florida. They were the ones that signed MC Shy D to his record deal, who is, for all intents and purposes, probably one of the most first nationally recognized rappers to come out of Atlanta. Uh-huh. Who, by the way, is from the Bronx.
Yeah, exactly.
Is from the Bronx originally. So that just says that we're all interconnected. Yeah. Yes, we're divided by state lines, but hip hop is all interconnected. It doesn't matter where in this country or in the world we are. Hip hop has connected us in some form or fashion.
My goodness. Y'all, thank you so much for hanging out with us as we discuss the brilliant and interesting legacy of Two Live Crew and how it has impacted us. Let us know in the comments how did you come to hear Two Live Crew? How did the music of Two Live Crew impact you and where are you from? Let us know. If you can see our faces and hear our voices, go ahead and subscribe. Tell your friends, family, and colleagues about Q Points, because if you love Q Points, chances are they will love Q Points as well. Visit our website at qpoints.com where you can watch our entire archive of episodes. Visit us on Substack where we have a bunch of dope stuff over there, and shop our store at store.qpoints.com. Oh, and do not forget, become a member on our website too. It helps to keep the lights on in Q Points land. We appreciate y'all. We love y'all.
We absolutely do. And like I say, in this life, you have a choice. You can always either pick up the needle or you can let the record play. I am DJ Sir Daniel.
And my name is J Ray, y'all.
And this is Q Points Podcast, dropping the needle on Black music history. We will see you on the next go round. Now put your hands up on your waist and do the hydraulic to the ground.
Hey!
Hydraulic. Hydraulics.
Y'all can't see us dancing over here if you audio. Peace, y'all.
Peace, y'all.